Aloha friends, it's Robert Stehlik. Welcome to another episode of the Blue Planet Show, produced right here in my home office in the garage. On the Blue Planet Show, we talk about wingfoil technique and equipment, and I'm also trying to get to know my guests a little bit better, their background, what inspires them, and how they live each day to the fullest. You can watch these long-form interviews on YouTube with video, or you can listen to them as a podcast on the go. Just search for the Blue Planet Show on your favorite podcast app. Today's interview is with the awesome Glennel Jordan. She's amazing. She actually wingfoiled the day before she gave birth. She's going to talk about that in the show. She has a real smooth foiling style, and she credits it all to spending a lot of time foiling. Her husband is also a fanatic. And so they're a super cool couple. They're right here on Oahu. And without further ado, please welcome Glennel Jordan. All right, Glennel, welcome to the Blue Planet Show. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so thanks for joining me. And tell us a little bit about your background, like where you're from, where you grew up, and then also kind of how you got into water sports and board sports and so on.
Well, I am from the place where there's lots of water, Las Vegas.
Not very
It's
much
actually
water.
the ninth island.
Right.
And yeah, I grew up in Vegas, so I had no experience besides my swimming pool with water. My mom was in show business. She was a showgirl, so I have like the opposite background of most people in surfing. And then we moved to Malibu when I was, 13, I believe. And that's where I started surfing, Malibu Surfrider Beach, the epicenter of surfing in Southern California.
Right.
And then when I was 15, we moved to Maui. So I finished high school in Maui, and that's when I really got into surfing at Hokipa after school. And yeah, and then once I was in Hawaii, I was like, thinking where I'm going to go to college. And a lot of people in Hawaii that grow up here are usually getting out of the state to go to college. But I decided, I was like, I love the islands. I love Hawaii, and I love surfing. I love nature. So I knew that I wanted to stay here. So I moved to Oahu for college and went to Hawaii Pacific University. And I've been on Oahu ever since.
Okay, so you've been here since you're 15 years old in Hawaii. First Maui, then Oahu.
Yeah, so 20 years. I'm 35 now.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've lived on North Shore the whole time. We had a friend that was living on the North Shore, and I was like, oh, I'll just live with her. She had an extra room, and that's so I moved to the North Shore when I got here, and been surfing ever since, and just getting into all the different ways to enjoy the ocean up here. I mean, if there's an option to enjoy the ocean on a certain kind of board, I've tried it, I've done it, I've gotten into it, and then maybe I've stopped doing it. But yeah, I love it. I probably will never live anywhere else. I can't imagine it. Yeah.
Wow, so your mom's was a Vegas showgirl.
Yep. Can't you tell? No, I have it in me.
So you never got into that?
No, she was, she was a dancer and everything. And she was very specific about not giving me any dance lessons or singing lessons. She was like, you are going to be a smart business person. So, yeah, I mean, she wanted me to take the opposite trajectory, and I certainly did. I studied finance and business, and I'm a financial advisor now. So yeah, she wanted me far away from that business.
You got an MBA as well, right?
Yeah, I have an MBA in finance, and she just didn't want me anywhere near that industry. She, saw that long term, it's like really hard for people to like build a life and a career, out of show business per se.
Right.
Yeah.
So your early childhood memories that got you into the sport, was that in Malibu when you learned to surf, or like, can you talk a little
Yeah.
bit about that?
Yeah. I remember my mom picked me up from the airport after I was seeing my grandparents, and she said, guess what? She's like, we were like inland from Malibu for a little bit, but she's like, guess what? We're moving to Malibu. And she had already bought me a surfboard. And the surfboard was in the car. It was a Stewart longboard. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And so I got some lessons from some guy at Surf Rider Malibu. And then that's where just took off from there, catching my first waves over at Surf Rider. And I've just been drawn to it. I was never a team sport. I'm an only child. So I notice a lot of like only children kind of gravitate towards like solo sports more. I was never really into team sports. So I really like the soloness and like the being by yourself, the meditativeness that surfing is when you're, by yourself in the ocean with your own thoughts and your own, capabilities to put you in and get you out of situations. So I always gravitated towards, like how difficult surfing can be, when learning surfing or learning any new sports in the ocean. Yeah.
So, and then how did you get into foiling?
So I met my husband like 10 years ago, and he's like one of those really kinds of people that is how do I describe it? He kind of reminds me of like an older version of Kane, where his brain is like always thinking of like so mechanical and thinking of like different things to do, and like just expanding like what you can do, even if it seems like difficult or impossible. He's always coming up with ideas on things that we should do that a few years later, like everybody's doing it. And he got me into dirt biking and kite surfing. And so like 5 years ago, he's like, look at these videos of, people foiling. But actually, in fact, like 15-20 years ago, people were tow foiling, right? They had like these old foils, and we have a bunch of friends that used to do this foiling like from a long time ago, these old heavy foils where you're like boots, you're strapped into these boots. But it wasn't very attractive at that point. But like 5 years ago is when he started, foiling just kind of started with a lot of some of the, professional servers like Kyle Lenny. And he's like, we need to do this. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I really like, surfing the way it is, going out on my gun when it's bigger, or shortboarding. And I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't sold on it at all. But he just went ahead and he bought foils from this kite surfing company. And they were like these big, heavy foils. They were so heavy. And I can't remember the name of it. God, if you said it,
Right engine?
Right engine. Yeah. Right engine.
Yeah.
They were so heavy. And I was like, I still don't know about this. And we have a jet ski. And he's like, no, it'll be great. We got to do this. And we went out so many sessions trying to figure out foiling on these big, heavy foils. And most of the time we did not do that well, but we had fun with it. We laughed about it. We kind of enjoyed how difficult it was and how bad we were at it. We just kept doing it. And then the summers around here on the North Shore of Oahu can get extremely hot and extremely flat. And you can spend your time in the mountains, like mountain biking or dirt biking. But I decided I wanted to, why not? I'll bring my foils down to the beach and try and foil. And this is when not really anybody else was foiling over here. And I would just go down to Sunset Beach. And I just started teaching myself to foil on these big, heavy, clunky foils. Like 3 years ago, I think. And I slowly got into it. I spend so many hours surfing in the water. I'm really good at paddling and catching waves. So I caught on to it pretty quickly. My husband, not so much. he hates surfing in crowds. So he doesn't spend a lot of time like prone surfing in any capacity out here because it's gotten really crowded out here. So he didn't really pick up on the prone foiling as quick as I did. But no, I really enjoyed it. I really just enjoyed how difficult it was. I know that's weird, sounds weird, but I enjoy the challenge, you know, and everybody else is longboarding and I'm like, I'm gonna do this foiling thing because it's kind of fun when I make it to my feet and I'm able to glide a little bit. And yeah, and then I don't know, I think the next foil we got was maybe an Armstrong. Like you know, it's all kind of a blur, the whole learning process.
So
But yeah,
I'm just scrolling through your Instagram account here. On Instagram, your ocean underscore baby. And this is kind of some older stuff, but I guess you got
we had
a baby.
A macaw. We got it from an egg and we put it in an incubator and we hatched it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we live up in the mountains on the North Shore, and so she was a free flying. This is another one of those crazy ideas my husband has where I'm like, I'm not really sold on this idea, but he just goes ahead and does it anyways. So he brings this macaw egg home, we hatch it, we raise this baby macaw, and when it starts flying, we decide we don't want to keep it in a cage because they're like so magnificent. And we're like, it's going to be our free flying macaw. And so we let it outside and it's just like flying all over the North Shore. It came home every night.
Wow.
Yeah, it came home every night. It slept inside. We had a perch for it in its own room. And like, I swear half of the North Shore knew this parrot. Her name was Barbarella. And and that's like right when I was getting into foiling with her. And we had her for about 2 years. And she went to everybody. I mean, she visited everybody that lives up in the mountains on the North Shore. The whole neighborhood knew her. She just landed on everybody's patio and talked to them. It was really stressful. Dogs would attack her. But she ended up passing away after 2 years. She did decide to sleep outside one night. And in Hawaii, we do have, you know, a month out of the year that it does get really cold up in the mountains. And she passed away in a tree overnight, and I think she got hypothermia, unfortunately. Yeah, and we were never able when we had her. It was like having a child. We couldn't do anything late at like into the afternoon hours because we needed to be home to make sure she came home and you know get her in the house and get situated. So we always say that like we wouldn't have become that obsessed with foiling if she was still alive, because you know it's like having a child. We were like paid so much attention to her. And it was like so heartbreaking when we lost her. We were so crushed. And the first thing we did the day we found her, because we were just like sobbing and we were so upset. And the first thing my husband said is, hey, let's go toe foiling. He's like, take the ski and go out because we haven't been able to, you know, stay out till dark before. And it was like our way to like heal ourselves. And that was exactly what we did. We loaded up the ski and we went toiling, and then it just became this obsessive toil craze where we were just going out all the time on the jet ski, toiling. And I'm pretty sure my husband coined the term toiling.
Yeah. So it's actually your husband, Zach, that got you into foiling.
He was but then I like progressed because I surf so much more than him. He's more into dirt biking.
And now he's trying to keep up with you, huh?
Yeah, so in foiling, like I progressed like so much faster than him. So then I became obsessed with it, but he really enjoyed it because it was a way for you to go and get in the ocean where we weren't, you know, in all these crowds. You could go to places that the wave wasn't that great, or you could like be inside of people and have fun and didn't have to deal with the crowds. And so that was a major game changer. Okay, so that picture on the left, So we took our honeymoon into the Mentawais Kandui. And if you've ever been there, it's some of the best, funnest, easiest waves on the planet, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're surfing like your dream. And so we're planning this trip and I'm so excited. And he's like, oh, we got to take the foil. And I was like, you're crazy. We're going to the best waves on the planet and you want to bring this clunky foil? I was so mad because I didn't want to bring any boards. I just wanted to use their boards down there. I didn't want to deal with traveling with boards. And he's like, no, we're bringing it. And so we bring, our big foil board and our big foil to the best waves on the planet. And we ended up having so much fun over there because the owner of the resort let us use the ski. And so we were like towing into foil waves over there. I think if you scroll up, you will see some of my first tow-in waves were at Kandui at this place called Four Bobs. I don't know.
Oh, and you brought your bird with you.
No, we FaceTimed her.
Oh, okay. It's so cool that she could fly free and go everywhere. That's so cool.
It was so cool, and it was so much education having your own macaw like that I realized that parrots shouldn't be held in captivity. They shouldn't be pets because there's just such smart, intelligent animals, and that people can never give them the life they deserve. They need to be out flying, and so now I'm like this huge advocate where parrots shouldn't be pets, and I'll never make that mistake again, taking in a macaw.
So the video you're talking about, is that one of these here? Or?
I think it's up. I actually ended up posting it a lot later. If you want, I can.
Should I let you take over?
Yeah, I'll take
over.
over.
Baby. I mean, as an egg, basically, you got it
as an egg. Yeah.
So you were the parents really for the bird. Okay, so tell us about this wave.
So this was one of the first times we tow foiled was in Kandui on our honeymoon. This was like one of my, what is this? 2018. So what's that? 3 years ago. This was at Four Bobs, first learning about tow-in foiling or toiling. And what a magical place that place is, Kandui. So, this big board, this big clunky foil at Four Bobs, which is like this amazing right-hander, like super easy, every wave is exactly the same. And yeah, I think I kind of got the hang of it better than my husband at this time. And I was like, oh yeah, now I get this. You just ride the swells. This makes perfect sense. And my husband's such a motorhead. So he loves things, like I said, he's more of a dirt biker, but he loves things with engines. And so at every moment's notice, we were free. He'd be like, want to go on the jet ski? Want to go toiling? And I'm like, geez, like, you want to do it this much? And he's like, yeah, of course, why not?
And motocross too, you were doing a lot, right? Looks like.
We did trials. So motocross is like, you have this big bike and you're like going around a track doing jumps. So we do trials, which is the dirt bike with no seat. Again, like he finds kind of like the weirdest, hardest ways we can do activities. And he's like, that's what we should do. So yeah, we were students way down here. See how obsessed I got with foiling? It just took over my Instagram.
Yeah, you post a lot on Instagram. It's just amazing. Like how many times a week do you usually post? Like, what do you say?
Like almost every day. It depends what I'm doing. I just friends with people that always take pictures, and it's so cool. It's such like a memory bank for yourself where we're only going to be this young once, so might as well. I can't even find my trials pictures anymore, but they're basically dirt bikes with no seats. And on the North Shore, the mountains here, the dirt biking and mountain biking is like, as good as the surfing is. It's like the best in the world.
Right.
And a trials bike like enables you to go anywhere basically where big motocross bikes can't go.
Mhm.
And I can't even find them anymore.
Oh, there's the egg that was hatched, huh? There's some bikes.
Those are chickens. We farm chickens too. Yeah, so
Oh, wow.
that's a trials bike.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so you're not never sitting down really.
Yeah, so it's like mountain biking. It's like downhill mountain biking
Yeah.
with a 250, 300cc two-stroke engine. So you can go uphill with the same in the same style as you would go downhill mountain biking. Super, super fun. But then, yeah, when foiling came around, it kind of took over. And I stopped dirt biking for a few years. And I just recently, now that I've had a baby, I'm just recently getting back into trials, and we've been riding, and it feels good to like mix it up, you know. Foiling, I think for a lot of people who started foiling, it kind of took over our brains where it's all you wanted to do. But it's nice to get back into a different sport again. It's not the only thing. Yeah.
Okay, so then I guess you started toe foiling and then prone foiling. And then how did you progress into wing foiling?
Well, so I'm a financial advisor, and I have an office in Maui also. I have a partner over there. And so I would go to Maui every couple months to, work with clients and work at the office over there. I'd stay there for about a week or so. And, before I went to Maui, I wouldn't bring a surfboard because the surf's not great over there most of the time. And then when foiling came around, I was like, oh my gosh, this changes my business trips altogether. Now I can bring my foil, and there's like so many places to foil over there. And I kite surf too, but I never kited over there. But I'd go check out like Hokipa, like what was happening, and at Ka'a. And I had a client that was like telling me, she was like, this wing foiling thing. She had some people, she knew some people that were getting into it. She's like, it's going to take off. And I was like, I don't know about that. But then I went to Hokipa and I saw some of these first guys that were winging, what's that right called? And that right at Hokipa over to the side. And it was like double overhead, and they were just killing it. And not many people were winging yet. This was like 2 years ago. And I was like, okay, now I get it. And like, this makes perfect sense to me. I was like, this is towing. You are basically towing in on your foil, but you are yourself the jet ski. And kind of like how kite surfing is, you're your own jet ski. Mm-hmm. And I went, when I got back to Oahu, I told my husband, I'm like, we got to do this. I'm like, this winging thing, I'm finding a wing, and you couldn't even find a wing. Like nobody was selling them. They were like out before you could even buy one. And so I ordered, this was my first one, this wing ride Takuma that I got. And I didn't even know how to use it, but I just knew, I was like, I know I have to do this sport. And so my husband came with me to Maui the next time I went, and I was like, we got to learn this. And he was like, honestly, he's like, it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And he's a kite surfer. He's been kiting like 20 some years, and he windsurfed. And then I brought him to Hokipa, and we watched those same guys like in some pretty big surf. And he was like, okay, now I get it. Makes sense. And then so we came back to Oahu, and I connected with Christian. I think Christian, One Maui Day is his Instagram.
Yeah.
And he came to Oahu. So he came to Oahu one day to, I think, hang out with you guys or some of the South Shore Oahu crew that wanted to learn to wing. And I was like, Christian, you're in Oahu. Great. I was like, can you come teach me too? And so somebody drops him off at the airport, and I go to the airport and I pick him up, and we go straight to Kailua. And I was like, okay, let's do this. Teach me how to wing. And that was my first day. That picture Christian took where he showed me just a few simple things right off the bat. And I still do that same exact start today on almost no matter what board I'm on. The knee start, holding your hands to the side. And
Well, actually, yeah, walk us through that. Because a lot of people are starting out and need help with that. So, can you kind of walk us through exactly how you start?
yeah, and I notice so many people don't get any pointers and it takes them forever. And the simplest things, when I show people, it clicks and they get it pretty quickly. But yeah, you always have the wing on your wrist, the leash on your wrist. Never do anything without it on your wrist. Crawl on the board, get on your knees. Don't worry about the wing. It's on your wrist. You don't need to think about it. Just make sure it's downwind from you. Crawl on your knees, hold the rails of the board, get super comfortable, and then grab that leash and start pulling it in. And then grab the front handle that's on that middle strut there, and then grab the back handle. And the key that I think a lot of people miss is they're trying to hold it straight downwind and their body is straight downwind. And you don't want to hold it like that. Instead, what Christian showed me is that that angle, right, with your arms and your back, where you want to twist. And when you do that, what happens is it kind of pushes your board upwind. And when I show people that, when I'm there to show people that, it clicks and it really helps everything come together. But it's holding it like this. And so this was my first day, and I would just hold it like that as hard as I could. And right then the wind will catch it and you'll start pointing sort of upwind and start moving. And this knee start I did when I was 9 months, 10 months pregnant. And it was so easy that, that is something that I could do pretty easily being pregnant. And then you just put your front foot up and then your back foot up and then you're standing.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I do it too. And even on a smaller board, you can still start that way. Mostly,
Yeah, and here's the thing about learning winging and going through all this is at first it feels like the most impossible thing in the world. And you're like, there is no way I'm going to do this. How in the world people do this? And you just need to put in don't let it get you down. Enjoy that hardness to it. Enjoy every fall. Because the first time I was on my prone board and I put my knees under me, I was like, this is impossible. But after the fifth time doing it, yeah, I start on my knees, my board sinks a little. I'm sinking more on the tail so the nose will come up so that the nose doesn't dig in the water. And same thing, I'll be, it's hard to balance on a little board on your knees, but it's totally possible.
yeah.
Do the same thing, reel it in. Same exact thing, and it works.
I find a lot of times the hardest part is getting the wing over your head, from when it's sitting on the water to getting it up over your head. Once you have wind in the wing, then it's more stable, right? So
yeah, there's a few seconds where you really just have to focus and believe in yourself and be like, I can do this. But my husband is so funny. My husband says he's the most uncoordinated person in the water, and now he rides his prone board, and he always says, if I can do it, meaning him, he's like, anybody can do it. And it's true. So if he can start on his prone board and he doesn't spend that much time in the water surfing, then literally anybody can do it.
well, he's a really good wingfoiler too now. So actually, I was going to ask you, what's it like to be married to a wingfoiler, or both of, I guess both of you are kind of obsessed with foiling and wingfoiling.
Yeah. So what's funny is I learned first. I got these lessons from Christian, and my husband just looked on like, that just looks so stupid. He literally told me it looks so dumb. And then when I brought him to Maui, I actually gave him lessons. I kind of got the idea of how to go in and out. And so I taught him. And then he ended up, this is his personality, where when he wants to do something, he just goes all out and obsesses into it. And he actually got better than me pretty quickly because he just obsessed over it, would keep going and going. And frankly, I couldn't find the right board for me to continue on. So I kind of quit for a month or two because, you know, equipment is everything in winging. If you don't have the right equipment, then you're just going to have a horrible time. But he ended up getting a good board for him. And so then he just he got so much better than me and just started doing it way more. And when I was like 9 months pregnant, he's like, every day, he's like, I'm going winging, I'm going winging, I'm going winging. And I was like, Jesus, I was like, you know, you can't be like this when we have a baby. And he's like, no, I'm just doing it now because like we don't have a baby yet. And it's true, he's really good now. But it's actually really helpful because when I was 9 months pregnant, I didn't feel like doing anything. Like my energy levels were so low, but I would just at least drive down to the beach and he would help me rig my stuff up because I didn't feel like doing anything. And once I got in the water, it was pretty easy. So it's really helpful that he is a winger too, because he helped motivate me when I wasn't feeling that hot. And now then he started doing like backwinding and tacks and all this stuff that I wasn't even considering because I really just like surfing mostly. And yeah, now he's like doing all these tricks. And I was like, wait a minute, I taught you how to wing and now you flew by me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I love that term toiling too. I think that's the first time I saw you foiling was when you were foiling with Zach. And I was just impressed by how you look so, I don't know, like just so efficient and like, I don't know, like a lot of times when guys are foiling on a wave, it looks like they're just like really tense and like, and you just look kind of relaxed and totally balanced between, you know, you got the foil just like totally balanced out and just look like so in control that I was always really impressed by your style.
Oh, thanks. It's honestly because we spent so much time suffering. We try to tell people are like, they get so frustrated learning how to foil or learning how to wing. And I'm like, no, you don't understand how much time we put into suffering. People don't believe it, right? When you're a good winger already, they like think that it's just as natural. I'm like, no.
Can you maybe show some video of yourself like foiling? Do you have anything that you can show kind of
I have so
progression?
Yeah, well, that first one in Kandui, that was kind of my first.
Right.
And then, I'll show you this one video. Some of my best videos is when I was pregnant because I couldn't lay down and
was
surf.
that your mom? I just think I saw a picture of your mom. Anyway.
Yes, right there.
Okay.
Yeah, she was
biggest showgirl with
straight from the 80s and 90s, big hair. Yeah.
Wow. That's it.
And then my father was a ventriloquist in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's your dad? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Totally not the surfing background, right?
Yeah.
So, when I was pregnant, I couldn't lay down and surf. So I was pretty much just winging and toiling. And one of my best.
Show us some of those. Yeah, sorry. I kind of want to. But yeah, I saw that some of those videos of you swimming with the sharks while you're pregnant. That's pretty cool too. We gotta watch those.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, let's watch this first.
I was 8 months pregnant here.
Wow, the water's so smooth.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful day. But this was like it was not even that big. It was pretty small that day. It was only like 2 feet Hawaiian, but just so glassy. It's like, snowboarding in powder. And, once you get the hang of foiling, it's pretty effortless. And my only goal was just don't fall. It's not fun falling when you're pregnant.
Well, you have to be careful too. Yeah, I mean, you can't really have heavy impacts and stuff like that, right? When you have
I mean, you can. You got my human body is pretty strong, but I don't want to. It doesn't feel good. So my goal is just to be as smooth as possible, not do any fast, jerky movements, and just stay up on foil. And yeah, my husband's flying the drone actually from the beach. And then that's our friend that was driving me.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, Zach just posts such nice footage with the drone, like out on the North Shore.
Yeah, that's another thing. Was forcing me to buy a drone forever. He's like, get a drone. And I was like, you get the drone. Anyways, I ended up buying it, and he uses it more than me. Right. But yeah, it's fun to get footage of your friends. Especially
that's a long wave. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, super long. Yeah. Can't disclose where any of the spots are.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't want people to know. But yeah, I mean, living in town, I mostly wingfoil on this side, but every now and then I make it out there. Like a week ago, I was out on your side, and wow, that was fun. It was a good session.
Yeah, I know, it's great. We didn't even know where we would be winging, and it just kind of, once we got into it, we were like, oh, we can wing there, and we can wing there and there and there. And then it just opened up so many spots where, as a surfer, you'd be like, basically you just stay out of the water that day. But then winging, it's all of a sudden, I can wing in all these different places, and just opened up the whole coast for us. Let's see, I was towing again. I was like, I was 32 weeks pregnant. So what's that? Yeah, 7 or 8 months pregnant.
Wow.
And there was a hammerhead shark.
Oh, wow.
You'll see it right there. Like, how often do you get to see a hammerhead right under you while you're foiling?
Yeah. It seems like they're kind of curious about the foils, right? The sharks.
Yeah. And I think the cavitation, I think attracts them or something. But so this, again, I was like 8 months pregnant, and I went shark diving. I didn't intend to get so close, but tiger sharks are a lot different than a lot of the other sharks around here. Most other sharks will see you and kind of just swim away. Tiger sharks come right up to you.
Yeah, show that video where where the shark's like opening its mouth and like checking you out.
Yeah, they come right up. They are ready to touch you and say, who are you? What are you? And luckily I had that pole. My friend said, have the pole, push them away. So I had my camera on that pole. And I wasn't scared, mostly because I have so many friends that are into diving with sharks that I kind of understand how they act, but they come right up to you. I was like, oh, okay. It was a huge tiger shark too. It's not aggressive, but that's how they are. They want to check you out and see what you're all up about.
Yeah, it's almost like they want to get petted on the nose or something.
Well, that's how they see what things are, is with their mouth. And unfortunately, their mouth has big teeth, can be really dangerous. But yeah, it was super interested in us. And I was like, I think right after that, I swam back to the boat. I'm like, I'm good. I had my experience.
Yeah.
I think I was more scared after the fact. I was like, oh man, that was a little close for me. But like I said, they're not I've been educated a lot about sharks, and they're not aggressive if you don't, you just have to behave the right way.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, cool. And then so let's talk a little bit about, I guess, obviously when you're foiling, it depends on your weight and so on. So when you're pregnant, obviously you gain weight, right? So did that change what you were using? Like, did you use a bigger foil? Did you use a bigger wing?
It's so funny. My friend, I'd come in from these sessions and I'd be complaining how I couldn't stay up on foil. And he was like, well, you are like 30 pounds heavier. And I was like, okay, point taken. You're right.
Yeah.
So I did start using a bigger foil. Actually, the foil that my husband uses, the Hyper 190, it's this a bigger high aspect foil, and that's what I think I'm using here. Because in pretty much in light wind conditions, you know, when you're maybe jibing and going back out or something, I could just, you know, gently tap on the front of the board and it would just keep gliding and get me through a lot of those light wind sections. And I know it's hard to believe, but it was one of the easiest things for me to do being pregnant is wing foiling on a big foil. It was like so effortless and so low impact too. That if I, you know, didn't know about winging, I probably would have mostly been out of the water for the last few months of being pregnant. So it was such a blessing to have this sport at this time in my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you were pretty much, and then after you gave birth, you were pretty much back in the water again pretty soon too, right? Or
Yeah, I got back in the water after about a month. I stayed out, which was totally, I always thought that, you know, it'd be so hard to not surf after having a baby, but that wasn't the case at all. I had so much fun hanging out with my baby. This is one of the first sessions that I did after getting back in the water. So my husband is filming it from the beach, holding the baby in the ergo, flying the drone while I'm out there winging.
that's awesome.
And I was like, oh, I was on a small foil. I had a small wing. I was like, oh, it feels so good to not be pregnant.
You instantly lost 30 pounds, huh?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I've like have my body back. I was like, because frankly, you start thinking for women out there, when you're really pregnant, you start thinking you just suck at everything because you're so big and you can't move properly. But in fact, it's just because you have a baby inside of you.
Extra weight. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I got back into it, and now we'll just like go to the beach to get, a lot of the time we just go to the beach together and bring all of our gear, and one person goes out, other person hangs out with the baby on the beach, and then usually he'll go out first and then come back and then rig up my gear for me because I'll be holding the baby still. He can't rig up gear. He always says, wait, I want to be the one to hold the baby and you rig up the foil and pump up the wing.
Yeah. So do you end up using the same wing, or do you both have your own equipment, or how
No,
does
so yeah, we have our own equipment. He rides the unifoil wind wings. He really likes them. I guess they're a bit more powerful. The F1s are probably like a little bit more less powerful, but I really like them because they are so lightweight.
So
And they have
you have the newer one, the Strike that just recently.
yeah, that's the Strike right here. That's the newer one. It's super light, and this handles are really small. I like small handles because when the handle is, a lot of other wings, they have big handles and they kind of cramp my hands holding them for a while. So I like the small handles, and I like how lightweight the F1 is. You know, it might not be the most powerful one, but I don't know. For me, I think it's totally fine.
So what are the differences between the original, this F1 swing, I think it's called, and then the Strike? How did it change?
Yeah, this is the original F1, yeah, swing. It's a little more flexy, and when you would be on your board pumping, trying to get up on foil, you could literally see the tips of the wings would be like fluttering and like bending. I'm like, it's literally almost like wings. And the fluttering kind of helped generate some wind power to get you going. And some people complained about that. I actually really liked it because I could feel that it was like pulling in the wing and generating power. And then the new ones are stiffer, and you can pump them up to 9 psi. So they're a lot stiffer, but they're also super lightweight. And I really love the lightweight. As a female, even though I'm strong, I love that they're light because I don't get as tired holding them. Whereas I've flown other wings and I just kind of get a little bit kind of tired after a while holding kind of a bulky wing. So I like the F1s, but yeah, my husband still flies the unifoil wind wings. So this picture actually is interesting. So this picture was on a bigger day up here on the North Shore of Oahu. It was like 6 feet Hawaiian this day. And I was 9 days overdue.
Uh-huh.
This was the day before I gave birth.
That's amazing.
And yeah, my friend came down to the beach and his wife had made, what do you call it? Cookies that like supposed to help you go into labor or something. And he also took these pictures. He's like, don't eat these cookies unless you're ready. I'm like, I am ready. And so I grinded like 10 cookies and then I went back out for my second session that day. He got that picture and I'm like, that's so cool. And then the next day I had my baby.
Well, those cookies made the difference, huh?
Those cookies, that's another reason. Like it was really windy and kind of hairy this day and some of the guys were having a hard time, but I was like, whatever it takes, gotta have this baby. I'm going out there.
Wow.
Yeah. I know, it's just kind of funny how that all worked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I noticed once you gave birth to Raven, that your Instagram feed is like now probably like 80%
Baby.
pictures,
Yeah.
which is great. She's so cute. Maybe
Yeah, you always
show a
pre-baby, you always think that, you know, a baby is going to take away from your free time and the things you love doing, but in fact, you just want to spend so much time with your baby and you like want to integrate them into your life and like show them the things you do. And it's so exciting. Like we joke that she really likes the windiest and coldest beaches because we always bring her down to the beach when it's like prime winging conditions.
And you think she actually likes that?
She seems to not mind it. We've been starting her really young, so she doesn't know the difference. She doesn't know that beaches are supposed to be warm and sunny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of you is on the beach with the baby, the other one's out winging, and then you switch off.
Yep, it's pretty much exactly how it goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the your foils that you're using. So I know you started with that big clunky ride engine, and then now using unifoils, right?
Yeah, so
tell us
unifoil.
about your foils.
Yeah, so here can you see the unifoil website right now?
Yep, I see it.
Okay.
Yep.
So I got involved with unifoil. It's another kind of a long story and it's related to my parrot. But anyways, they asked me to be the team rider and a distributor. And I said, hey, why not? I'm obsessed with foiling as it is. So for towing, my absolute favorite foil is the 150 Vortex. And it's like the surf foil. And it's pretty small, but why I like it is that it doesn't have upward pressure the faster you go. So, you know, when you go toiling, you can go pretty fast sometimes, especially, you know, on some of the big days out here on the North Shore when it's like maybe 6 foot Hawaiian or even 8 feet, you're going really fast down the face of these waves. And something about the unifoils is they don't have that. You know, a lot of other foils, if you go faster and faster, that foil's wanting to lift up and you're pushing hard on your front foot to keep it down. But the way the unifoils are designed is they don't have that upward pressure. So they have like an unlimited top speed. And so I love them for towing. It's just so smooth. And you would think, well, that means it only works in big waves. But in fact, I ride this same foil prone foiling when it's like 1 to 2 feet. So it works in small waves and big waves. And before I got pregnant, I was winging with it too, because I would wing in, you know, kind of large conditions where it's like a foot or so overhead. And so I would be winging with this foil too. And, you know, when you're winging, it's windy. So the ocean's bumpy. And you want a foil that can kind of handle those bumps and kind of cut through the chop smoothly. And it does that really well too. So this was like my all-around foil for the longest time, was the Vortex 150. I was just using it for everything.
Do you know how
And
many
then,
square centimeters that is surface area? Projected surface area, or does it say?
you're going to ask me that?
I guess it's 150 square inches. Oh yeah,
968.
968 square centimeters. Okay. Yeah.
And my husband really likes it for towing too. And
You know,
then,
the bottom of the foil, is it pretty much flat, or does it have a little bit of a curve in the back of it?
yeah, so it's dihedral. I don't think there's a picture it shows of that. It's dihedral.
Mhm.
But generally it doesn't have much of a curve, no. So it's pretty flat. Kind of like, no, I mean, it is low aspect, but yeah, like I guess like an Armstrong foil is a good comparison, where they have these big curves in them.
Well, actually, what I meant is like the profile, you know, so if towards the back, if it's kind of turned down a little bit, because I know that kind of helps with the faster you go, the more kind of a downward pitch it has when you have that little bit of a on the bottom, have that, I don't know what it's called, but it's almost like, oh yeah, you have one there.
Yeah, I have one. Let me see. I'm in my work office and my foil storage area. And I
Nice.
have
Okay, we'll actually take a look at it.
one more Vortex 150, but
Okay, yeah. So it doesn't have a lot of curve to the tips. It's pretty flat, but it has, yeah, I see the dihedral. And then it does look like it's on the bottom of the bottom side of the profile. It's has a little bit of inward curve, yeah. Is it? I don't know. I can't see really. I have to take a closer look at it, but that's probably why it doesn't have, you know, it probably has like a little bit of forward pitch when you go faster, you know, I would think. Yeah.
yeah, because trust me, I know what front foot pressure feels like. Those are those right engines.
Right.
Yeah, so fast speeds, love it. I was riding that, in like 6 feet, 8-foot surf. But honestly, I like toiling in smaller waves. I think it's more fun. Head high, I think, is like the perfect size. I don't need big waves for toiling. And when it's bigger, I think it's more fun just to tow surf or paddle ins or, something like that without the foil.
And then you said can I ask how much you weigh? What usually?
Yeah, usually, right? It changes so much. Right now I'm like 135 pounds.
And then when you're pregnant, you gained about 50 pounds or something?
150. I was like 155 when I was pregnant.
And then, so which foil did you use when you were pregnant? You said
Yeah, well, I'd still tow. Even when I was pregnant, I'd tow with the Vortex 150. But then when I was winging and I was like super lazy and I was like, most important, I don't want to come off foil, I rode a high aspect foil, but I rode kind of a bigger high aspect. And I rode the Hyper 190. Wait a minute, that's the 150. The Hyper 190, it's kind of one of their newer high aspects. And the glide is just length.
Yeah, it's the same.
They're all the same, but the 190, the glide is just unreal. Like, it's so effortless. So in, light winds, subpar winging conditions, I could just kind of bounce around and just it was stay on foil, because I just didn't have the energy to put that much into staying on foil, and the 190 just kept me going. And it took me like until I was like 7 months pregnant to accept the fact that I needed to be on a bigger foil. And yeah, it kept me going. And even that big day right before I gave birth, I was on the 190, like riding like some pretty big bumpy swells, and it handled fine. It works in big surf too. That's like all my husband uses is the 190, and he rides it in all sorts of conditions with the wind.
How much does he weigh?
He's 175 pounds about. Yeah.
So then for winging, foiling, everything, toiling, he uses that same one?
No, for toiling, we're always on the surf foil, the Vortex 150.
150.
So
So he uses that
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
What
yeah.
about
And
mast length? What length
so
mast do you like?
yeah, so there's 750 and 830. So 750 is like 29, 30 inches. That's what I use pretty much for anything. And then he uses the longer one for winging and towing. We have this whole like argument. He's like, it's better for winging to use a longer mast. And he's right. But I personally can't tell a difference. So I use either one. I know one day I went out and I was like, I'm so happy I'm using the long mast. He's like, you're not, you're on the short mast. I was like, oh. So I can't really tell a difference, but it does help in when you're winging to be on a longer mast because the ocean's bumpy and so you need more give so you don't breach. And same with towing. It's usually better to be on a longer mast.
Right.
Yeah. Just affords you more mistakes, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can kind of fly over the small chop without having to go up and down so much, right? I find
Yeah. It's a lot better. Everybody that gets on a longer mast can feel the difference when you're in kind of those choppy, bumpy conditions. Yeah. I'm the only person. I'm so easy. I can get used to almost anything. I'm like, whatever.
And what about tail wings? What do you like for using for tail wings?
My favorite is the flat tail wing, which is the one pictured here. But I do have a lot of riders on the canes back wing. Basically, almost all my unifoil riders are now using canes back wing and they love it. I haven't tried
Which
it.
one? What size?
I don't know. I thought there was only one. I don't even know.
Yeah, he has like all different ones. So yeah.
Yeah, he does. They all love it. I mean, most of my riders start off on the flat wing. And then eventually, and they'll say they love it, they'll cut it down to like 14 inches is kind of like a good length to cut it to. And then they'll get on the cane wing and they'll be like, oh my God, it's amazing. And now like they don't go back. After they get on cane's back wing, they're like stuck on it. They never come back to like a regular back wing. But yeah.
So you're the distributor for all of Hawaii, or you?
Yeah, for all the Hawaiian Islands.
So you have like a little warehouse in your garage, or how does that work?
It's here in my shop. It's
Oh, in
here in
your
my office.
office.
Yeah, I have foils everywhere.
Cool. And then do you sell them at pretty much the same price as on the website, or like?
Exactly the same price.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
No shipping. That's good.
Yeah, and I ship to like Maui and Kauai, but it's super cheap.
Right.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Unifoil's still Unifoil's been around like a really long time. They're one of the first companies to do high aspect wings.
Yeah.
And then they sold their designs to Signature. And then just like a couple of years ago, Unifoil decided they wanted to distribute their own brand. And so it's kind of like new-ish in terms of being able to like buy Unifoil from a distributor wherever you live. Mm-hmm. So they're not a lot of people are riding them, but the people that I do have riding them absolutely love them, are extremely happy.
Tedford has a unifoil, right? And I saw him the other day using a unifoil. Right?
Yeah, he was one of my first foil friends, and him and our other friend Johnny, and I got them on unifoil right when I became a distributor, and they love them.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And you sell the wings too, or?
Yeah, I don't sell wings as much. I kind of just focus on the foils. My husband's more into selling wings to people because he loves the unifoil wind wings. They have like a lot of power, and he's totally right, they do. So that's kind of more his arena, but mostly I just focus more on the foils. I mean, I do have like my own job. I'm a financial advisor. I have my own company. Yeah. So I don't want to be doing
side hustle for you.
Yeah, I don't want to be doing too many different things.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your board. I know you have that board that has your parrot on it, airbrushed on it or painted on it.
Yeah, so
is that still the one you use? Is that your main board? And can you talk a little bit about your board, what you're using, and the progression and so on?
Yeah, I want to pull it up here. So it took me a while to figure out what kind of board to get for winging, because after you learn, you start off on these huge 100+ liter boards, and then you realize that that's not sustainable. You need to be on something smaller. And I borrowed a board from Derek, a Jimmy Lewis, one of his boards. And when he got a new one, and I got on the Jimmy Lewis, and the first day, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I need. Like these dimensions, this shape, it's perfect. And so I brought it back to my shaper here on Oahu, Gordon, SS Hawaii, and I was like, these are the dimensions, like this is what we need to do for winging, because like nobody else could tell me what to do. Like, it was so new, like hardly anybody on Oahu was winging. But I was like, I got this Jimmy Lewis, and I'm like, this is what we need to do. Can you please make me something like this? Copy these dimensions. And Barbarella had passed away, and Gordon's like super artistic. He's like, he loves bright colors, and his daughter's an artist, and she was home because of COVID, and I didn't know, but they painted Barbarella on it for me. That's awesome. When they made it. Yeah, it was so sweet. And so I would always say, like, when I went out, this is one of my first sessions with it, I was like, you can see Barbarella flying with me still. And so this board was 4'7", 4 inches thick, and about 24 inches wide, I believe. And it was about probably 65, 70 liters. And it's good because you could balance on your knees, but it was short enough that it was super fun in the surf. You could turn it really easily.
But pretty much big enough to float you then, right?
Yeah, totally big enough to float you on your knees. So that's what you want, basically, especially on Oahu, where the wind's not always that great.
Right.
It's not Maui. You want something that'll float you, but you also want something small enough that you can have fun in the surf. And it took me a bit to figure that out. And when I did this board, I just became obsessed with it. And I rode it for about a year up until I gave birth. And then I realized, and then I think I must have hit it too many times because it started taking in water, unfortunately. And it got a little heavy. But I got into winging with my prone board. And
yeah, the other day I saw you in the water waiting for a little gust, and you were kind of underwater.
Yeah, but it's super fun. Like when it's windy enough.
Once you're up, then it's pretty awesome, huh?
Yeah, it's like those windy days. You're like, ooh, it's like Maui. Get out your little board. And now I will put, if it's super windy, I will put straps in it. And, pretend I'm in Maui and do jumps and things like that.
Yeah, I see you starting to jump. So let's talk a little bit about foot straps. Like using foot straps versus going without and so on. Like what's your take on that?
Yeah, so I usually don't use foot straps unless it's really windy and unless I want to jump. I kite surfed and toe surfed, and we never use straps. So I've been used to not using straps in all my sports. So the only time I decided I wanted to use straps is when it's really windy and when I want to jump. But also, if you have straps, it makes it really hard to switch your feet, because I go switch stance when I'm winging. If I don't go switch stance, like it hurts, like my legs lock up and your back gets kind of tweaked. So I have to go switch stance. To me, it feels good to like balance your body. And if you have straps in there, it makes it hard to switch. And if you're on a prone board, there's not even room for another strap. Right. If you want to go switch stance. So I do, like I said, I do put straps in, but usually only when it's really windy and when I'm trying to do jumps. So I'm still learning on how to jump good, but that is a day with straps.
So you'll end up like putting the straps on and off your board regularly? Like you take them off and put them back on, take them off?
All the time, yeah. So like this is a day. So what I ended up getting a Jimmy Lewis from my friend for as a light wind board, because my Barbarella board just got too heavy. And so this is a day just like a few weeks ago on that Jimmy Lewis board. So yeah, no straps. And I like being able to move my feet around, but there's a case to be said for having straps and not having straps.
Can you give some pointers on switching stance? Like, I don't know, I learned and moved down to a smaller board pretty quickly, and I never really learned how to switch my stance. So I just always keep it in the
I
same.
remember when I met you and you told me that.
And I don't want to go back to a bigger board to learn it. So I'm like, it's all right.
My first
used to it now.
advice is do not start to learn without going switch. So you can't learn to wing, then go back and try to do switch. Like I don't know anybody that's done that. Like if you're going to learn to wing, learn switch at the same time. If you've already learned to wing and now you're trying to learn switch, basically just accept the fact that you're going to be horrible, and you're basically learning how to foil all over again. Because remember, learning how to foil initially, it's like, wait a minute, front foot, wait, push really hard on the front foot. And that's what you have to train your brain to do for switch stance. And it's not going to happen immediately, but I probably put like a good week into doing it like every day, where it started clicking. But what I would do is first you ride switch not on foil. So don't let the foil come out of the water. Put all your weight forward and just ride switch with the board on top of the water. And then when you're ready to come up, let weight off your front foot, come up, and then push it back down. Don't try to come up and start gliding, because your body doesn't know how to do that yet. You need to teach your body. So come up, push it down, come up, push it down. And you're like training your brain to go switch. And you're training your front leg. And then if you do that enough, you'll fall a few times, you will figure it out. But I know a lot of people just don't want to put that effort into it. But if I don't go switch, my leg cramps up, my back hurts. So
you get used to it, I guess. Like my hips used to always be sore from it, but now it doesn't bother me anymore. And I could go upwind pretty steep going like
really
twist it up, but yeah, I don't know. But so, and then the other thing is like switching your stance while you're up on foil. Is there like, what's your trick to doing that?
Well, first be really comfortable going switch before you even try that.
Right.
And then if you are comfortable going switch, what I found with so much of winging and all these different tricks, like, tacks and jumping and everything, is the biggest obstacle is like in your own mind. And if you like overthink things too much, then you're going to like psych yourself out and convince yourself that you can't do it. And when I want to go switch, basically what I do is I wait till I kind of go over a little lump and the nose of the board comes up, and I'll kind of just hop. But the biggest thing is just kind of like, just do it without overthinking it. And the quicker you kind of do things and just kind of know that you might fall a few times, but don't overthink it. And the more I don't overthink things, the easier they are to just do them. I know it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But just start hopping back. I mean, if you can go switch stance, just hop, just start hopping, put your feet the other way, and eventually it'll just start clicking.
Yeah. Yeah, the last interview I did was with Kane DeWild, and I really like the way he put it was, I guess he likes to really kind of get technical in his mind and think about how everything works and stuff, and be in that state of mind before he gets on the water. But then once you're doing it, you just kind of have to let your body let it happen, basically, or your body kind of automatically takes over, and you just kind of look where you want to go. And so maybe talk a little bit about that, like when you get when you're really into it, and just like everything just clicks and you're in tune, and
I mean,
it's you do no wrong. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so many athletes, they talk about that, like you have to like envision it and think about that. I think that's what Kane thinks, is he has to like understand the mechanics. And I probably go through that in my head too. you have to envision, see yourself doing it. But then, yeah, like once you're in the water, like you don't need to think about that anymore. Just like become like, one with the ocean. Just be so happy that you're out there and like take in the glory of it all, whether or not you're ripping or killing it, that doesn't matter. And just go with the flow. And if you want to do a jibe, you want to switch your feet, you want to jump, just do it. Like, don't overthink it. Just like embrace the place you're in. And what I see is so many people get so upset, they get so frustrated when things go wrong, and like, don't worry about it. It's supposed to be hard, if it wouldn't be fun if it wasn't hard. Just have fun in the whole process of trying and falling. And yeah, that's what I do. I just go out. Like when I was pregnant, it would just, once I would be up on foil, I'd be like, oh, all my worries are gone. And you just do your best. And when you think you want to switch your feet or jump, just don't think about it. Just say, I want to jump, and just do it. You might not make it. It's okay. So that's kind of the attitude I take with all my sports is, it's going to be hard. It's going to suck, but like enjoy that part of it.
Yeah. So do you have any tips to get into that, right? That state of mind where you're just enjoying it and you're in the moment and you're not like getting mad at yourself for not being good enough or something like that?
Yeah. It's like appreciation, like appreciating where you are, that you even have the opportunity to like have a wing in your hand. Like we're so lucky, like in America, we can do these things, and just appreciating that you get the experience. So many people don't get to do the things we do. So I think it just comes down to appreciation mostly.
Okay. I like that. So are you working on any new tricks, or like what's your anything you're trying to pull off that you're not that good at yet, or anything?
Yeah. So while I was pregnant, my husband's like, when are you going to do a tack? And I was like, well, I don't want to fall right now because I'm really pregnant. He would hassle me every day. When are you going to do a tack? And I'm like, okay, now I'm learning to do a tack. I'm not pregnant anymore. So I've started doing tacks that I do kind of, you have to wait until it's like, the right situation where you're like when you come out of a wave and you're almost tacking, or the wind's so offshore that it's like it's just so easy to tack.
Do you switch your stance before you tack or after you tack?
It depends which way you're going, right?
Right.
But yeah, so I guess if I'm tacking, if I'm going back out to sea, I haven't switched my stance, so I'll still be tweaked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then you kind of like tack into a wave, and then you're still in your regular stance. But then, on the other side of the island, everything's opposite.
Right.
So it just depends. But he always gives me a hard time that I'm not into learning tricks, because I'm such like a surfer. Like I want to surf mostly more than anything. But yeah, so I'm starting tacks. Sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't. And then I stopped jumping too while I was pregnant, because that's probably not very safe when you're really pregnant. Right. So I've gotten starting to get back into jumping, and I want to learn to, hang like Annie Starr is. She's so inspiring. But we just don't get the same wind that they get. So we don't always have this strong gust to be able to jump. And then watching you jump, how you do a cutback and then you kind of jump as you're doing a cutback. I saw you do that the other day, and I was like, I need to learn that.
Yeah, I mean, jumping, a lot of it is like turning into the wind, so you kind of, that way you get more hang time. The more you can go upwind in your jump, the more you can hang in the wing, and the softer the landing is too. You definitely don't want to jump just like straight with the sideways to the wind or going downwind, because then you have no more pressure once you're up in the air. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, that works really well on the North Shore, because I can jump kind of in my regular stance on the wave, and that's super fun, actually.
Yeah, so that's what I kept seeing you do those. I was like, oh, okay. That's how I learned most things, is just watching other people and saying, oh, I'll just try and copy what they did.
Yeah. No, it's actually that's a good way to learn to tack too. Just go behind someone that's tacking and just try to do exactly what they did.
Yeah, don't think about it. Just
Yeah.
say, oh, that looked easy. I'll try it.
So have you taught other people how to wing foil, and like what's your process, or what do you do to teach others how to get into
Yeah, I've taught a bunch of people how, and like I'll go in the water and I'll hold the board so they can get on their knees. So I really drill that whole getting on your knee thing, and then holding the wing like that is super important. Just a couple basic little things are super important. And then my most favorite way, and not everybody agrees with this, but my favorite way to teach people how to wing is to take them on a really long downwinder.
it?
So they can just fall their way downwind for like 5 miles. So I taught my one friend like this, and by like, I think it was like 5, 6, 7 miles. And like the last mile, he started getting it. He fell for the entire time until the last mile. And then he was like, started going back and forth. And I was like, yes, I knew it. I knew this was a good way to teach people.
Yeah, I
But
mean, that's actually how we learned too. Like Derek Hama and Jeff Chang and I, we just did like Hawaii Kai runs instead of,
yeah.
we were always trying to do it on windy days with a paddle, stand up foiling. And it was
Mm,
so hard. And then with the wing, it was hard too in the beginning. But then once you get it, it's so much easier when you have the wing than trying to do it with a paddle.
right.
And just being able to not have to worry about staying upwind and just going downwind, and
Yeah.
eventually you just, because you have to get to the end, right? So you just figure out how to do that.
And the most important thing is to have a positive attitude, because you will fall 1,000 times. And I'd come by my friend each time, I'm like, you okay? And he'd have a big smile on his face. He's like, I'm fine. I'm like, perfect. By the end, he got it. So yeah, if you can find a place to do a long downwinder somewhere where it's safe, you're not getting blown out to sea, that's optimal. Because yeah, it can be a struggle trying to stay upwind when you're first learning.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I like that.
Yeah.
But as long as you can get back and maybe have someone who can help, like go with you, that can keep an eye on you and so
Oh
on.
yeah, don't do it alone. Like I'm always willing. Anybody wants to learn, I'll do a downwinder with you. I always say that to people, and I'll just be with them, and I'll bring my cell phone and a fanny pack and just make sure they make it back to the beach. And then I'll just have fun doing circles around them.
I
And
like
say,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, we have such a great foil community here on Oahu too. It's like everybody's so just everyone's having fun and open, and it's not like, I guess, like shortboarding can be so like I don't know, so competitive, and it's almost like playing chess where people try to like or psych each other out and stuff like that, where you're trying to get the next wave and try to like outmaneuver everyone else to be able to catch the next wave and stuff like that. And wing foiling is like totally different, where it's just not like that, right?
No, we're like so stoked when our friends on our wave, and like teaching people, everybody wants to help each other. Yeah. And surfing is it's one of why my husband kind of stopped, because it's so like aggressive and angry. I'm better than you kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And so that's why like I think during this interview he left, he like took off to go winging.
Yeah, but I guess if wing foiling kind of like, all of a sudden there's like 10 times as many wing foilers on the water, it might be a little bit different again too. But I think right now it's just like, yeah, everyone's just having fun and everybody knows each other. And we have like this WhatsApp group and everybody's like posting, oh, it's windy here or whatever. And there's waves and this and that. So everyone's just like kind of sharing all the information, which is, I think it's awesome. So
Well, it
hopefully.
opens up so many more places, right? Where, I mean, there's so many places you can go. Like we haven't even touched so many places you can probably wing.
That's true. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's what's so cool too about being on an island, is that it's always side shore somewhere or an onshore somewhere, and like there's waves on one side or the other side usually, or you can like, yeah, and you can get pretty much anywhere in an hour. So
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, it's pretty awesome about Oahu, that we have so many spots that are rideable,
So
really.
many spots, so many options. So I just don't see getting crowded as
Yeah,
as
and
an issue.
the open ocean is just like, if you, like you said, if you're just doing downwinders and riding open ocean swells, there's really no limit to how many people can do it. You know, it's like,
Really, there isn't.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
true.
what I love about it. Yeah, it's amazing.
So, I mean, that kind of brings us to like, what do you see for the future? Like, how do you think winging's gonna progress, and like, what do you see for any ideas for equipment and just progression and so on? Like, what do you see for the future?
Well, pre-foiling, like kite surfing was like the wind sport, right? And most surfers, you talk about kite surfing and they're like not interested in it at all, right? They're like so not into wind sports. But winging, like I now see my friends that are surfers that are like, oh, that looks cool. Like now they're interested in wind sports. I don't know, there's something about winging, just like less lines and equipment that just makes it, I think, a little just like easier for like a
Approachable, yeah.
surfer. Yeah, for a surfer to get into. So
I mean, I
I
think too, like sorry to interrupt you, but I think
okay.
part of it is just foiling is so accepted by surfers because, like, even guys like John will go foiling, surf foiling. And then I think once you get that, you get hooked on that foil feeling, and then just being able to have a wing in your hand and go back out without having to paddle. I mean, it's just like, it totally makes sense. I think once you experience that thrill of foiling, then the wing is kind of like a natural progression, right?
Yeah, so I think it's going to bring in way more people than previous wind sports did. So I see more people. I have friends ask me about it like all the time. Like, what do I need to do? What kind of equipment? How do I get into this? So I think it's going to attract a lot more people, which I think is great because most of the North Shore, I think you can wing, and most of us are just winging usually one or two spots. And I think the equipment's going to get more efficient. So for foils, like I think high aspect for winging is, I think, a great foil. So I think we're going to be moving more into high aspect for winging, because it's just so easy. You get up on foil so easy, and then you're like flying so easily. The boards are going to get lighter. Lightness is like the key to everything in foiling. The lighter, the better. And then same with wings. So I think as the technology improves, like material for wings, I think if we can make them lighter and lighter, that will make everything more efficient and easier. So yeah, lightness. Lightness is the key. And then for foils, just more high aspect.
Yeah, I agree with you that a light wing is really nice, but I've been using, like, the Axis foils are pretty heavy, but I like the way it feels. It feels really solid in the water. It sucks to carry it, but once you're in the water, having a heavier foil, to me, kind of, I don't know, I've kind of changed my mind on it. I don't think the lightness is as important as a lot of people think it is, but that's just my opinion. I don't know, it's just from what I've felt.
You're probably right. I mean, like I said, I'm a small female and I can ride the smallest foil and the biggest foil. Like, really, like, what does weight really matter at the end of the day? I mean, maybe a little bit when you're learning, but at the end, it matters actually less and less. So I agree what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. But it is nice to have lightweight gear, especially if you have to carry it.
Yeah. You're walking down the beach with a wing in one hand, your foil in the other.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. So, let's see. I guess we already talked about so much stuff. Thanks for spending the time. So, but let's talk a little bit about your life, like, what's a typical day in your life on the North Shore? Like, just an average day. Like, what do you do the first thing in the morning, and then how do you spend your day?
Well, I am a new mom, so my average morning is trying to get more sleep.
How often does Raven get up at night right now?
Anytime, anywhere from 1 to 7 times.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
No, she's pretty good.
Where is she right now? Is she in your house?
She's at grandma's house.
Oh, nice. Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay.
I was like, I'd love her to be here, but she's so distracting.
Yeah.
So, used before baby, we'd get up and sometimes crack it on the jet ski pretty early, but now it's just, getting up, playing with her. And I'm a financial advisor. So I do work Monday through Friday because the markets are open 5 days a week. I have an in-home office, and then I have an office in Honolulu. So, I kind of split it about half and half, going into the office or being here.
And that's about an hour drive for you, right? To go into town or more.
Yeah. But, I don't know. It's not that bad. I enjoy it. And gosh, when foiling came around, I was like foiling my brains off in Honolulu.
Right.
So yeah, hang out with her and then, start working, give her to my husband or her grandparents. And then, markets close 10, 11 a.m. And then I'll work till maybe like 2 o'clock. And then guess what happens in the afternoon? The wind starts. So then we start making plans for how we're going to get down to the beach, all three of us, and getting all of our gear. And we usually end up at the beach, 3, 4 o'clock. And we start doing our trade-offs. So one person goes, then the other person comes in and goes. And that's kind of a typical day for us. We haven't toiled since we had the baby. It's just not that we can't, but I just don't want to be away from her. It's a kind of a long time to rig up a jet ski and everything and go down. And
so you don't have a baby carrier for the jet ski yet? Or
not yet. My husband keeps saying, at what age can she drive us on the ski? I'm like, I am probably a few more years, honey. So we haven't toiled since we had baby, and I'm fine with that. I toiled so freaking much when I was pregnant that I'm okay with a break. And so it's mostly just a lot of winging now, and we're going into summer, so there's not really going to be much surf. So I imagine I'll be doing a lot of downwinders, and I've gotten back into dirt biking. So some afternoons, if the wind's not good, then we'll go dirt biking up in the mountains up here, and then grandma watches baby, and we'll go dirt bike together. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times for mothers with young babies, like the rule is to sleep whenever the baby's sleeping. Is that what you try to do, or do you have
I'm
to?
not much of a daytime napper. I'm kind of like a really go person. So I don't know how to nap during the day. So that doesn't work. But
you try to go to bed early, like when
I go to bed really early.
Yeah.
I'm such an old lady like that now.
Right. Oh, you have to. I mean, you have to get your rest whenever you can,
Yeah. But it's so fun, and it's so fun to watch her grow up, and like we have all these toys, and she's so lucky. I'm so jealous. She's gonna get to do everything.
So how has the pandemic affected your life? Like, has it changed much for you, or is it pretty much just life as normal?
No, it changed a lot. I stopped going to Maui and doing business over there because we couldn't fly, really. It was just, difficult to fly. I was really scared when the pandemic happened because I work in finance, and, I saw people lose their jobs, portfolios go down. So in the beginning, it was super scary, and my heart went out to everybody that lost their jobs. And how it affected so many people. It's when I was first got pregnant, so I started working from home. So that was like a positive for me. But my firm, we adjusted to it, and if anyone knows the stock market came roaring back after the initial drop. So the markets are doing well. So what hurts for me, because I'm always dealing with people's lives, right? Their livelihood. And so it was really sad to see, people lose their jobs and just having to deal with that. My life hasn't really changed much, except I work from home more, which kind of was really nice when I was pregnant, and now that I have a baby. But mostly the effect is on clients. Yeah.
So for your job, do you help people like build their portfolio, or is it like the
Just exactly.
401k plans for small businesses, or what kind of stuff do you do mostly?
Yeah, I do all of that. So my specialty is retirement planning. So I work with individuals and also small businesses, but mostly individuals to help, yeah, build their retirement portfolio and then like make a plan for when and how they're going to retire and how much money they're going to have in retirement and how long it's going to last and all these things, and making sure that they're protected and, you know, if catastrophic events happen to them. So it's exactly what I do. I'm working with like regular people every day with their life savings and, you know, helping them to enjoy their life because we only get one shot at this. So I want people to retire and be happy and have fun. And I have a handful of surfer clients, and you know, they're older and they love surfing, and I'm like, that's what I want you to do. I want you to spend your money and go on trips and have fun.
Yeah, sometimes people, it seems like they just work so hard and don't really enjoy life so they can retire at some point, but then by the time they retire, they can't really do stuff anymore, right? So it's important
So
to
it,
remember that,
yeah,
to
it's about
have fun while
taking,
you're young still, right? Too.
yeah, take mini retirements throughout your life too. Yeah, for
So
sure.
I think that's a good, like, I always like to ask that question. You know, so many people were struggling during the pandemic, you know, feeling lonely, anxious, depressed, whatever. And so I just wanted to, you know, throw that question at you too. Like, what do you do to stay positive? And then also, you know, as wing foilers, everyone always says, "Oh, I just get on the water and then I feel better automatically." So, and that, yeah, of course, that we know that always works. But if, let's say you can't get on the water, you know, for whatever reason, and what you know, how do you stay positive or keep a positive outlook?
Yeah, I saw that question you asked people, and I'm kind of like a loner anyways. I really enjoy being by myself and like thinking in my own mind. So like anytime, like if I can't get on the water, like I just like, I sit in my house and I like think of all the different things that, you know, problem solving that needs to happen in my house. Maybe it's like fixing something or a project out in the garden, or you know, I just work on things like at home. Like I love like thinking of like what needs to be done, you know, in my life just around me and how to work on it. And I personally really like isolation. So, you know, some people are really social, and I know that was hard for people when things shut down. Um, but I just, yeah, I'd like to think about what I have going on around me and how I can make things better. And sometimes that's just like cleaning my house, and I get joy from that.
Right. You're not a procrastinator then, I guess.
No.
So would you say, like, you know, being kind of, you know, I think we're all kind of addicted to foiling, that sensation of flying a foil and just getting out on the water. And I mean, it's just such an awesome feeling that we're kind of hooked on it, right? So what would you say, there's kind of a downside to that kind of addiction to that feeling? Is there a dark side?
Gosh, man, I was one of the most addicted people ever. Like I feel like I took this to the extreme where I basically stopped surfing, which is fine. That's not the bad part of it. But I'd go to work, and every day I'd get off work in Honolulu and I'd go foil for like 3 hours, and I lost like 10, 15 pounds. I got really skinny. And
Like a
I think
crack addict.
this happened to a lot of people. They lost weight, and for some
Right.
people it was great. And I was like, oh, I'm ripped. But I think I was like not eating because I was between work and foiling. It was like taking up all my space. And I did lose a bit of weight. So um so now I've kind of come back and I'm like, wait, I actually like other sports as well. So it became super obsessive for me. Not that that's bad, but I don't think it was sustainable over the long term.
Right.
I got to the point where I was like, I should probably gain a little bit more weight and like get back to normal.
Yeah. Yeah. But like in terms of like other people, where did anyone like tell you like, what are you doing with your life or whatever? No, anything like that?
No, people were like everyone was pretty interested in it and thought it was funny. Honestly, the best thing is it got my husband back in the water. He essentially stopped surfing, and foiling like got him back in the water and got him paddling again. And I was like so happy to see that, because it's so crowded over here on Oahu, and you're just like, I don't want to battle with all these people. And for me, like foiling was a blessing to see him get back in the ocean, because I'm so in love with the ocean. So I think for us it was pretty good. I'm so happy to see him having fun in the ocean. He used to just be in the mountains all the time dirt biking. So it's like I have him back in the water with me. I'm like, yay.
Oh, I mean, he obviously enjoys it very much as well. And he's
Yeah.
hooked too, right?
So more than me now, I think.
That's great. All right, let me see. Oh, did you watch any of the other interviews that I did on the Blue Planet show? And did you have any takeaways?
So I watched Kane's a little bit. It's so funny. I don't know him that well, but every time I go to Maui, I just like always happen to like see him or surf with him or wing with him a couple different times. Yeah, my takeaway is, God, he's getting older fast. He's so young. Every time I see him, he's like growing up. He's such a young kid, but he's like, there's so much up in his brain.
Yeah,
So
he's such a brainiac.
yeah, and just to see him how he's grown through foiling, and now he's like making his own tails, and it's just really cool to see young people that have such like these passions with like building things. So I enjoyed that. And then there was the other one with, I think, Alan Cardes. I met him when I was learning to wing, and I was teaching my husband how to wing over there. And so just listening, this picture of him doing the starfish that you have, I remember when he was like first learning that trick. I think it was when I was over there a couple of years ago. And so I was like, oh, I know him. I met him. Somebody, I don't know if it was him, but somebody let us use their board. I think it might have been Alan, to teach my husband, because everyone just hangs out at Ka'a, right? When they're winging over there. So it's just cool to see these people that I always see, and I used to see in Maui that I don't see anymore, because Maui's kind of like the epicenter of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So is there anything else you want to talk about, or actually like do you want to thank anybody for supporting your passion, and like anyone helping you out or sponsoring you or supporting you?
Let's see. Gosh, so much. Probably my husband for pushing me to foil, even though I was such a naysayer. Gosh, I was like ragged on foiling so much, and now I got into it so hard. So just to keep pushing me and saying, no, we need to do this. We need to do this. And me finally being like, okay, fine, we'll do this. And then just meeting Unifoil and like learning so much about foils and high aspects. And so that was really cool. Such a chance meeting with Unifoil, and now I'm the distributor, and now I can use all these different foils. And what I've realized is you kind of need a quiver.
Yeah.
So I feel super lucky to be able to have that quiver now and understand all the different foils.
Well, and now you're a dealer. You're like a drug dealer, right? Selling foils.
That's exactly what I tell people. I'm like, yeah, I'm a drug dealer.
Let them try a little bit so they get hooked, and then you can sell them the gear, the quiver.
Exactly. I don't do it for the money though. I just do it for fun.
Yeah, it's hard to make money with it, but
it's really hard.
Yeah, that's okay. And plus, I mean, the stuff kind of gets, I mean, the development is so quick that, every time you buy a new wing, like 6 months later, there's something better out there, right? So
tell me about it.
It's hard to keep up with the latest and greatest. But yeah, I mean, actually, let's talk about that a little bit. Like, how important is it to have the right equipment, or, like what would you tell people? Do you need to always be on the latest and greatest, or can you
You
just use
totally don't need to be on the latest and greatest. Like there's so many people that like jump from the next foil, the next foil, the next foil, and then you see people that completely rip on some of like the original go foil gear. And so while there is something to be said for like, you know, new foils and new foil design, you don't have to get the newest stuff and the most expensive stuff at all. I actually like, I love that I can use like the same foil for like so many different sports. So if you can't afford to get the best in the quiver, like it's okay. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But some of us foil freaks, we like to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's something to be said too for just using the same gear that you're used to, you know, instead of always switching things up. But then, like Kane was saying in the interview too, like he likes to try lots of different things, and it helps him improve too because he kind of understands better what the differences are and how things work and things like that. So I think there's something to be said for both, you know.
Yeah, totally.
In terms of like, how much of your skills would you say are kind of natural abilities and talent and so on, and how much of it is just like hard work and practice and deliberate, you know, training and practice?
Oh my gosh, it's like mostly hard work. I mean, I'm from the desert. I didn't learn to surf when I was little. Like I suffered so much, and I think that's what people need to remember when they want to get into some of these challenging sports, is it's a really tough learning curve, and it's putting in that time with anything you want to succeed in life. Like it's natural abilities, not as a real thing as you think. The people that are really good put so much time into themselves. Like for example, John Florence, like he's put, you know, his entire life into being the best surfer. And so I'm not a natural surfer at all, but I've put so much time, and I just have a positive attitude about sucking at things, and I'm like okay at being horrible at a sport at first because I like that challenge to try to get better.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's a lot of it is just what you make of it and putting in the time, you know, time on the water and trying to have fun, you know, not, yeah. I think so. Yeah, some people are kind of too hard on themselves too, you know, like always the F word and just like cursing at themselves for not being as good as they want to be. But that's like the worst kind of state of mind you can be in, I think, you know, like if you're like, sometimes when I get into that kind of a frame of mind where I'm negative, I try to like just take a breather, stop, and then okay, I want to just have fun. It doesn't matter if I suck or not, you know.
Yeah.
And that's really the only way I can get out of that is by kind of deliberately kind of changing the way I view it, you know.
Like it goes back to appreciating, just like appreciating the fact that you actually have the opportunity to be on the ocean in Hawaii doing this like weird sport with a wing and a foil.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a good way to end the interview. Thanks so much for your time. I know we went really long, but appreciate all your time and good insights. Really.
Yeah, that was fun. Thank you. I can't believe it's been so long. I just looked at the clock. I was like, whoa.
Almost 2 hours. Yeah, I know. I always like, yeah, it'll be about an hour, but then it always goes way longer, but that's fine. And I always say too, like at the end, like when I look at the analytics on YouTube, only about, you know, 5 to 10% of the people are actually still watching at the end. You know, like about half the people stop watching after 30 seconds already. So like people that click on it and like, then they realize, oh, it's an hour and a half long. Okay, I'm not going to watch this, you know. But then like 5 or 10% of the people watch the whole thing to the very end, and they love it and they comment and stuff like that. So I really appreciate all those people that are still listening. And do you have any special message for all those people that are still listening to us talk?
Just have fun. Just, you know, do your best, have fun, and enjoy the challenge. That's what I tell everybody I teach. Enjoy it. Enjoy every fall.
Yeah, and just be safe and help each other out too, you know. Like a lot of times I think, I mean, just keep an eye out for each other. We're out in the ocean, and it can get dangerous. So always good to have somebody looking out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Yeah. Go out together and use the buddy system and so on.
For sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And great talking to you, and good luck with your family, beautiful child and husband, and take care. I'll see you on the water soon.
Okay. Thanks, Robert.
All right. Aloha, Glennell.
Aloha.
Okay, congratulations. You made it all the way to the end of another Blue Planet show. Thank you so much for watching. I'm super stoked. Also, last week we just went over 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. Super grateful for that. I'm sure all of you who are still listening now are already subscribed, but if not, don't forget to subscribe. Also, hit that bell button. That means you'll get a notification for when we post a new video, and that way you won't miss them. And you get the first week of ad-free viewing. So if you watch the show during the first week, no commercials. That's a little bonus for all you people that are still watching. And you're really the ones who I'm making this show for. Just the 5% of the people who click on the video who watch it all the way to the end. So you're a rare breed. Thanks so much. And don't forget to be a good role model for everyone else on the water. Help each other out. Help newbies. If you see someone in trouble, check on them. And so we can all have fun and enjoy it together, be inclusive, and just have fun. That's what it's all about. So thanks again for watching. Really appreciate it. Take care. See you on the water. See you next time. Aloha.